Visa wants to know where you would like to be. Whether you're a super fan or just in it to win your league, Visa knows we want to spend less time standing in line and more time pursuing our passions. That's why for over 60 years, Visa's been adding innovative plays to the way we pay. From tapping to pay to getting paid in 30 minutes or less, they're giving businesses and consumers more tools to do just that. They know that every Visa transaction is a promise. Whether it's a street vendor in front of a stadium or picking up the latest NFL gear online, Visa wants to provide us with the most secure and easy payment experience possible so everyone, everywhere, can get to where they'd like to be. Visa, everywhere you want to be.
Hey y'all, Uncle Jimmy here. When you speak for yourself, you're forced to think for yourself. And when you think for yourself, the sports world looks different. In order to enjoy this podcast and this show, you need to have the courage to look at the world from alternative points of view and not be offended when you disagree. Speak for Yourself isn't your Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram feed. SFY tells you what you need to hear and not what you want to hear. So, welcome aboard, buckle up, and enjoy the ride.
We begin in Dallas. All right, the pressure is justifiably mounting on Cowboys head coach Jason Garrett. Every day, Cowboys owner Jerry Jones finds a new way to say he's losing patience with Garrett. Today, on Good Morning Football, Jones said this. Take a listen.
Let me tell you, no one in this country has earned the right to say, I'm a Jason Garrett man more than me. I am his man. I don't have to win the Super Bowl in business every year. I can come in sixth and have a hell of a year. But in this business, you've got to come in first. I want Jason to get it done.
Also today, there's a rumor flying that Cowboys tight end Jason Witten could be a candidate to be Dallas's next head coach. Dallas Morning News columnist Tim Kalishaw wrote of Witten's candidacy, quote, I think that's always a possibility. If Jerry truly believes all the players are in place, some of these assistants, maybe not the special teams coach today, but some of these assistants are pretty good, but a different voice and a more fiery personality is what this team needs. I can see him doing that. I don't think it's the smartest thing in the world, but I know a lot of people who think it could happen. All right, I agree with Kalishaw. It wouldn't be smart, but I could see it happening. 2 years ago, when Witten's alma mater, Tennessee, was looking for its next head coach, Witten was a candidate. He wanted the job. Witten sees himself as a head coach. Jones saved Witten from the Monday Night Football booth and put him back on the Cowboys roster primarily for leadership reasons. It certainly has little to do with Witten as an effective tight end. I move as well as Witten, and Marcellus is just as good as a receiver. Witten is on the roster for intangibles. Is Jerry crazy enough to make Witten his next head coach? Hell yes. Jerry believes he's built a Super Bowl roster. He damn sure believes he's built a roster that is better than 6-5. The Pittsburgh Steelers are 6-5 without Ben Roethlisberger, without Le'Veon Bell, without Antonio Brown. Coaching matters. The intangibles matter. Jerry has every reason to be angry. Decisions made in anger are often misguided. Anger could cause Jerry to make Witten the Cowboys' next head coach next season. Here's how it could happen. The Cowboys lose tomorrow to the Bills. Jerry fires Garrett and makes defensive coordinator Chris Richard the head coach for the rest of this season. The Cowboys continue to underachieve and exit the postseason in the wild card round. Witten is the Cowboys head coach in February. The first domino is losing to the Bills tomorrow, and I can see that happening. All right, joining the desk now are Fox Sports NFL analyst James Harrison and LeVar Arrington. Marcellus, I'll start with you.
Yeah.
Think Jerry is really considering Jason Witten as the next head coach?
No, absolutely not. And I played for Jerry Jones, and I played with Jason Witten. And I don't think this is a serious consideration. Even the way the story was presented, it wasn't a serious consideration. It was starting off with Lincoln Riley, which everybody who was looking for an NFL head coach is going to say, Lincoln Riley, check that box. Then it went to Jim Harbaugh. And then it went to a bunch of coordinators unknown, and then it said even Jason Witten. Now, all of a sudden, everyone looks at Jason Witten and starts to say, is he the right guy for this situation? I would say no, because one, I haven't seen any measurable steps in terms of the coaching ranks that he's taken to show that he's ready for a Super Bowl contending roster as an unknown coach. Why would Jerry want to mesh those two things together? I don't care how angry you are. Jerry Jones is still a smart, savvy businessman who is accomplished as an owner. So Jason Witten is a nice name. It's a great tagline, a good headline, but I don't think he fits the bill.
Couldn't agree more. He needs a proven coach. He needs someone that can deal with, obviously, his personality, his style of ownership. And he needs someone that could come in and put an offense and defensive scheme together that is going to be what is going to maximize what he has there right now, because he wants to win right now. And with you wanting to win right now, I don't know any player that's going to be able to come in and do that year one.
Let me ask you this, though, James, because the question isn't whether we all agree it would be a bad move. Tim Kalishaw, you, me, Marcellus. Is Jerry considering it is the question.
No, I don't think it's a real consideration. It can't be.
See, I disagree. I think he would strongly consider it, and I think he would strongly consider it because he feels as though he has a strong supporting cast that he would be introducing. Listen, I understand the look, and I understand why it would not make sense because he doesn't have any coaching experience. But the reason why I believe someone of Jerry Jones's background would consider a player to be the coach is because he feels as though he has the personnel to be able to do it. And he obviously feels like he has the right personnel coaching-wise outside of the special teams coach. And he certainly probably thinks front office-wise he has the right people in place. So to put a figurehead at head coach has to be able to appoint who his coaching staff is going to be. A figurehead at head coach has to be able to manage and regulate the personalities in the locker room. So if you look at Jason Witten, he probably has a great rapport with those guys in the locker room.
Yeah.
And if you're looking at it from just a figurehead perspective, let him learn as a head coach from these other guys, keep that support in place, and you manage the James Harris.
You know how hard it's going to be for him going from the locker room to being the player, the guy that me and you, we joke around with, to the authority figure that now he has to come down on them when it's a situation. And you think I'm going to take you coming down on me seriously?
How many players have you been around that have done that as players?
That have went straight to a head coach? Nobody.
No, not have gone straight to a head coach, but have been authoritative figures in the locker room. That you were probably an authoritative
It's the difference
figure
between having respect for someone that you play with and someone being above you and having more authority than you.
To your point, this actually happened in Dallas, and I think a lot of people weren't privy to the details. Tony Romo was our fourth-string quarterback who was on the roster, some say, just because of injury to others in that summer. So Tony Romo goes from getting us the chicken and the donuts to a franchise quarterback. And what was the real question about Tony Romo as that franchise quarterback? The leadership. Can he rally the guys? Can he take the guys there? Because they didn't have a ton of great personnel. Tony Romo was doing it all on the field, but then off the field, could he rally the guys and follow on leadership? And you know what was the reason? He had the mindset and had to evolve out of it of, I used to be the do boy. Y'all used to tell me what to do, and now I got to tell y'all what to do. And those same guys were looking at him like, you going to say something? That's the dynamic at play.
Here's where I would disagree in the sense that Jerry Jones brought Jason Witten out of the Monday Football Night booth, one, because he was failing, but he brought him back to that team purely for leadership. This dude runs probably a 5.40 40 right now.
If that.
He's not a real factor. He's not an asset as a tight end. He brought him back for leadership. Would this be the first time that Jason Witten got a huge job without the proper qualifications? I say no. Monday Night Football. He had never been a broadcaster. Jerry, basically, if you understand how football works, Tony Romo's on TV in the number one spot at CBS. Troy Aikman's the number one guy here.
Moose still out there.
Jerry installs people in critical positions to spread the gospel of Dallas, and so Jason Witten got installed at Monday Night Football without a lot of qualifications. Could Jerry do it again with his football team?
Well,
that's a big conspiracy theory, right?
That's a conspiracy theory.
Those are actual facts that have been lined out. Michael Irvin is doing his thing.
Yeah.
And Smith.
No,
don't go there.
But they gave him a shot.
No, jokes aside. There's an angel on the shoulder of Jerry Jones, and it's protected, and some people malign it under nepotism. But it's really his son who, through promotion, has graduated to a level where, Dad, I am the voice of reason, and that's his son, Stephen Jones. Stephen Jones is the same one when Jerry Jones comes out and is critical of the coaches. Stephen Jones comes out right after that and says, we're going to judge this on postseason success. When Jerry Jones wants to draft X player, Y player, Johnny Manziel player, Stephen Jones is like, no, Daddy, it's okay. I got this. So I think right now the balancing act is Jerry goes out there with emotion, and Stephen Jones comes out there with cognitive thought.
Let me ask you this. Where was Stephen Jones when they said, hey, man, we're going to pull this 37, 38-year-old out of the Monday Night Football booth and install him as our tight end? Mm-hmm. Stephen Jones should have said, no, Daddy, that's not going to work. There's some young guys. This guy's passing. But that happened.
That's the devil on the shoulder.
Right.
That's the angel. And so the devil on his shoulder is Jerry.
Jerry Jones is going to do what Jerry Jones wants to do.
You're right. Let me stay with that example. There is still an effective Jason Witten in the red zone. When the field is shortened, that's all you get. I'm just saying where he is at his best is in the shrunken field. Here's the thing. When you look at what Jason Witten brings as attributes, his greatest attribute is his commitment and professionalism. Yeah. Seen it firsthand. But you know what you lose when you become a head coach? We check that box initially. That's a staple that you're a professional, that you're committed, first in, last out. So now you have to rally us in other ways and methods. That's where we saw him communicate as a broadcaster. It's not the most effective way he shows his talents, through his oral gifts. It's not that way. And if you're going to be the head coach with no experience, you got to go up there and say something, dog.
There's no question about it. But clearly, Jerry and these guys believe in this guy as a leader. I think Jason Witten believes in himself as a leader. There was a reason why he was interested in the Tennessee job. There's a reason why his name is on the paper.
But why bring him back as an active roster player? Why not bring him back as a coach? Why not get him experience as a coach this year?
Well, I would agree. That would have been smarter.
I find that to be damning information if you're saying he left the booth because he doesn't communicate well, and you brought him back for the leadership, but you brought him back as a player. You didn't bring him back as a coach.
They wanted to double
up.
Get
him that experience. At least get him 1 year of experience.
Inside man. He wanted the inside man.
Trojan horse.
Do they not have those in football? Let's don't kid ourselves.
Hell yeah.
But they usually not the players.
No. They got their, anyway.
It was 5-0
Anybody,
in there.
could any player, do you all think, could it be like the NBA where you step off the court, step on the field and coach in the NFL?
No. My answer was already stated, no. And I tell you why. It's mentally and physically. Mentally, we are not delegators. Like, we sit in a meeting room with a red dot on the video screen to tell us what to do. And then on game day for 3 hours, we go out there and actually do it. Whereas a head coach, your job is to empower all others and trust in them and delegate. We're not built for that immediately. So day one, you need to go through that process, that recalibration. 2, we know that it all falls on us and our efforts. And physically, we can go out there and do things. We can make this happen. We can make that crowd roar. We can make that crowd boo if we don't perform. With a coach, that's a whole different dynamic. If you are not in it and learn the nuances of it, I think it's a failing experience.
You deal with such a narrow scope of things and issues as a player. That scope is multiplied by every single player when you become a coach. Now it's multiplied by every single coach that you have. You have to worry about when a coach's wife is pregnant. You got to worry about a death in his family over here. You have to worry about so many different variables that really the most important part of becoming a successful head coach is learning the processes that are attached to being a successful coach. Yeah. That's why when you see successful coaches, they come from a successful coaching tree. It's because you learn the processes of what it takes to be able to run. Just something as simple as, when do they eat? How often do they stretch? How long should practice be today? What are we running within that practice? Just little things that you would say, well, you may not give too much thought to, but when you get put into that head position, I was an assistant. This is just high school. I was an assistant. And I'm like, you go, I'm at Long Beach Poly, you see how the practices are structured, and it's like, wow, this is pretty cool. Like, I'm handling my aspect of linebackers, this, that, and the other. Then I start helping defensive coordinator, then it's like, whoa, the scale, the range of responsibility went up, and it was like, I started to get a little bit of like anxiety about it, right? So you get to that point of being in the pros, and you got to manage grown men on that level. I think that's a very hard challenge for somebody to just step off the field.
Yeah, I don't see it. It's no way. I don't think a player coming off has the knowledge and understanding of all those scopes to come in and get that done immediately and turn it around to where, especially not where Jerry wants it.
Day one.
And so in the NBA, it's just such smaller numbers.
Smaller numbers. You're talking, what is it, 10, 12-man roster, something like that, 13, 15,
12,
something.
Well,
yeah.
and also the dynamics in NBA, everyone's going two ways. There's not a play called for every single possession. Like, we actually have more downtime than playtime. Like,
Yeah.
come here, let's all talk, all 11 of us. Someone's in my ear, I'm gonna communicate to you all. You have to manage all of that every single play, every single day. I just think it's a greater scope.
Whitlock and Wiley joined once again by James Harrison and LeVar Arrington. Time now for a big story. Let's go to Pittsburgh, where the Steelers and the Browns will face each other again. Just 2 weeks after their huge brawl, two notable people missing from this week's matchup are Myles Garrett, who has been suspended indefinitely, and Mason Rudolph, who was benched due to poor play. When asked if he thought tensions would arise again, Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin said, quote, "We're playing and playing to win." All right, the question here is, expect James Harrison's Steelers and Baker Mayfield's Browns to behave on Sunday.
Yeah, I do expect them to behave because Mason Rudolph isn't playing. Let's just be real about that situation. If he were playing, I think you would see a little more smoke out there, some poetic justice from one of the defensive linemen or others out there. I know I would have. Just in the whole court of public perception, it seems like Mason Rudolph hasn't taken full responsibility for the situation, but I digress. Since he's not playing, most rematches when we had tensions the first time don't live up to the billing. Now, this is a divisional game. There is bad blood, so you're going to always have a higher temperature when you're going out there. But to the tune of what we saw before, I don't think we see that again. Anything near it, anything outside the lines.
Yeah, they're going to behave. It's no question about it. They made sure that they fined 33 guys. They fined both teams $250,000. You have over $730,000 worth of fines that were handed out. It's no way that the NFL and Roger Goodell have not talked to these refs and said, look here, we're calling this straight down the middle. We're not letting anything go. It's no pushing after the whistle. It's no excessive chatter. We're not going to let any of this go. The fact that Mason Rudolph is not playing is a great thing for the Steelers because it has nothing to do with that being any smoke. They're not going to get 4 picks like they did the first game.
Exactly.
That's the best thing that's going to happen for the Steelers. And the guys that were involved, Marquise Pouncey won't be playing, and Garrett is not. Yeah, it's not. Myles Garrett is not even there.
Yeah.
So it's no question they're going to behave.
I disagree. I totally disagree.
Okay, let's do it.
And the reason why, and I hate to split the table like that, but the reason why I totally disagree is because you have playoff implications on the line.
That's another reason.
That's a reason why you wouldn't.
No,
why
but
would I want to act a fool and lose?
Because the fuel. I think the
Suspensions?
fuel going into this game. And listen. When I say not behave, I'm not saying it's going to go to the extent of what happened between Rudolph and Garrett.
Not behaving means you're not playing inside the lines. You're doing something dirty. You're going to
Have
get
you ever seen the Pittsburgh Steelers?
No.
You think?
What that mean? They dirty?
Have you ever, in the AFC North, you acting like the Pittsburgh Steelers behave? We didn't see them in the Cincinnati Bengals in a playoff game act up. I didn't see
didn't
Joey
act
Porter.
up. The man was out there checking on a player.
Mike Munchak didn't grab somebody's hair.
That might have been camera angles.
We talking about the AFC North
That is hilarious.
with these type of pressure on both teams. And we just, they're going to behave.
They're going to behave.
It's going to hit. You know what it's going to be like? It's going to be like when you guys were playing against the Cincinnati Bengals. They aren't relevant anymore, but when they had Burfict and all those guys and you guys were out there, it's going to be fueled by the thought process of who thought they was right and who thought they were wrong. That's going to take them into this game, and if you don't
you expect them to get out of hand to where it's going to be flags called?
Yes. Yes, there's going to be flags.
So
Yes.
Well, literally both of them are in the race to be at the playoffs. The Steelers are
Correct.
right now the 6th seed.
Correct.
So I'm going to go out here and do something
gotta
to
keep
hurt
in
my
mind.
team by me not being available to
James,
play the next
James,
game or two.
James,
Not so
hold
much
for
get
1 second.
suspended.
Hold for 1 second. James, and please don't jump across here when I say this. But, I mean, James, I've seen you play in important games, get flagged, get fined.
In
You're
between the
Pittsburgh Steelers.
whistles.
But I'm
The
saying
flag-
that's still not. That's considered.
Listen, that's in the play. That's in the context of the playing the game.
Yeah, but I don't.
I was a little high, a little low, whatever it
The
may
question-
be. I didn't go and bust somebody's head with a
that's-
helmet
that's
after
behavior.
the play.
Hold on. That's behavior.
That is not behavior.
Ain't that's playing
The question does not say, do you expect the Steelers and the Browns to behave after the play is over? It's
To
do you expect them
behave. I expect them to not get any personal fouls that are outside the limits of what is regular play.
So when Juju
Right.
and them got knocked out of the game, that's not considered. That's considered.
Nobody complained about that. That was just
But that all led up to it.
No, that didn't lead
nothing
up
to
part
it.
of it. It was
How
not.
did-
It was a
said that
chippy
didn't
game.
lead up
How
to
did
it.
Mason,
It was a chippy
Rudolph, and Myles Garrett
different
continue
situations.
what was going on
It was,
with Juju?
it was
Please
a physical
connect the
game.
dots.
It's a physical game.
That was a bang-bang
It's
play.
not saying that
No,
that play in
Mason
particular
Rudolph said
made
the only
that
reason he
happen.
wanted to get him off him is he's like, the game is over.
No, hold on.
So
I
let's
don't-
Game
I don't-
over. He
well,
pissed.
I don't understand.
He just threw 4
I'm
interceptions.
confused at some point how because I didn't hear something about Mason Rudolph. AFC North, and so again, maybe the question's framed wrong, but when I say behave, I'm expecting
Personal fouls.
Personal
Yes.
fouls.
No.
Yes.
I'm
No.
expecting-
No.
No.
Yes.
Anybody get a personal foul in this game got a likelihood of being suspended.
No, not necessarily.
You know
No,
when
you
you
get to-
don't
You
step
think
out
you
of
think
bounds?
they ain't called these head coaches? You think they ain't called Mike Tomlin? They ain't called this?
I think y'all should bet that. How many personal foul flags?
Hold on for a second.
Zero.
There will be
James,
0 personal
They
foul
flew
flags.
you to New York to meet with the commissioner. They've called.
They was
the-
trying to make me an example. That was something different. They
I
trying
got
to,
it, but
that's
they've
not-
called the ownership before.
Patriots, right?
They've called the ownership
better
before. For the AFC North is the AFC North. It is the league of the division of bad behavior on
Bad
Sunday.
behavior. It's a physical
What's the name-
division.
what's
You're
the
just
name
not
of
used
that
to seeing
tequila?
that type
Hold
of
on, y'all
physicality.
can't misdirect.
You used to watching Kansas City run around and play basketball
What's
on the
the name of
field.
that?
Y'all
on
got to
green
look at
court.
the confidence. First of all, I don't fight, and I have no fight in me because, one, I believe in me, and I don't empower you enough to have to tangle with you. So that's maybe a cocky mindset, but it gets me out of all situations. Why I bring that up? Mike Tomlin is 12-0 against the Cleveland Browns in Pittsburgh. And it's 15-0 if you want to get Bill Cowher involved. Meanwhile, you look at the confidence of the Browns. They've turned their season around. They have won 3 straight games and finally on track. Guess what that means? I'm believing in myself. I'm not going out there with the dirty stuff. You know why? Because I think I could beat you just straight up now. And that's why I think the mindset
go get
is.
this
What's
straight
the
up
name
fade.
of the tequila? What's the name of
Casa de
Casa de
I want that bet. You said no personal fouls. Y'all said
personal fouls.
I want that bet.
By smoke.
Right.
Right. Don't give me no something like
now we got.
I
No.
want that bet.
If we got a bang play
I
and
want
I
that
hit
bet.
your guy and he went to sleep,
I want
that's part of the game.
Yeah.
We're trying to
Y'all said
minimize
no
that, but that's part of the
personal
game.
Y'all said no personal foul.
I want that
now
bet.
you want to legalize
Yeah.
a few of them. Well, if it's this player or that
I
player.
want that bet.
Is
No
it no
personal
personal
fouls.
fouls or
That's
no
what I
personal
want that.
fouls?
You know what? I'm about mine.
I want that bet.
No personal fouls.
I want
Let's
that smoke.
Bet.
You want that
Bet.
smoke?
Bet.
You want that smoke?
Run it then.
All right, there we go.
Run it.
There we go.
I just.
There we
James,
go.
you played in the AFC North. You know
Exactly.
what this is going to
No
be about.
personal fouls.
Listen. Everybody wanted to compare what Myles Garrett did to the things that happened with me when I played against the Browns.
I don't want to.
I hit people in between the whistles with helmet on to try and do what my job was, and that was to eliminate
But
them.
some people didn't.
He
Hold
tried
on,
to
hold on.
put this
Let it
man
go.
out for life. That's in between the whistles, okay? That's the things that I believe if it happens, it happens. But no one is going out there looking for smoke.
And so there are some of us that believe, and I agree with you. The way you played the game, hats off, respect it. I wrote some things defending you at the time. I respect it. It was on that edge. But you playing on that edge.
Yeah.
You playing on that edge. The Steelers play on that edge. The Bengals play on that edge. Cleveland plays on. If there was it's not a coincidence that the melee happened in the AFC North. It's not a coincidence. The AFC North is where this was going to happen because of the way this league, it pushes the envelope. And they're going to push the envelope Sunday. Yeah, Sunday. They're going to push they have emotional play.
It's going to be emotionally charged.
Y'all don't think it's going to be emotionally charged?
Listen,
emotionally charged
It's gonna be
because we're
emotionally
both
charged.
fighting for a playoff spot.
Yes, and
if
what
they
just happened
win
plays a
and they
part.
win out, then they will win the tiebreaker of that. Okay? Of course, they're going to come in there emotionally charged trying to win. But do you realize what the Pittsburgh Steelers do at home? The last team they lost to was in overtime at home against who? The Ravens. Action Jackson was picked off 3 times, and that was in overtime. The Steelers are a different team at home.
Let me ask you this, and we got to go. Let me ask you this, and we got to go.
Okay.
On the Steelers' 53-man roster, and we'll count Marquise Pouncey in this, and just speculations, not an accusation, do you think there's any money on the line amongst the players? Do you think there's a little pot of money?
No bounty?
No.
He ain't gonna say that on record. Me either, but
No.
You want to go commercial and then really talk about it?
We don't do that. We don't do that.
That's right.
We go pound you in between them whistles.
Pound cake.
Legally.
Remember the T-shirt they put out after Juju put Burfict to sleep? That's Pittsburgh. When Juju put Burfict to sleep, they made
Back in the
T-shirts
day, that
about
was a
it
legal
celebrating.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great hit. I applauded it and wanted a T-shirt.
That's why I always kept my head on the
This
swivel.
sound like Josh Norman Odell, and everybody was hyping it up for the rematch. And you know what the rematch was? Nothing. exactly.
Josh Norman and Odell.
They
They was mixing it up a little bit.
They tried, but it wasn't mixing it up.
They gonna mix it
I
up.
don't want to talk to you.
I
no
want
more.
y'all
Super
scared.
6 on Thanksgiving.
Yes, sir, it is. Before the Bears and Lions kick off tomorrow, download the Fox Sports Super 6 app and play for free for a chance to win Terry Bradshaw's $25,000. Let's win our fans some money. One of the questions for tomorrow is which team will win and by how many points. Whitlock and Marcellus, let's get this money.
The Bears are going to destroy the Lions. The Lions have no quarterback. One Stafford went down. Driscoll could run around a little bit. The Bears going to win by like 17.
Okay, 23-18. I'll take the money. Bears are going to win this game and the Costa Dragones from other games.
Yeah.
So, I think 23-18.
That Dudes is sponsored by Crown Royal. Live generously, and life will treat you royally. Please drink responsibly.
I will.
All right, LeVar Arrington is back. Joining us now is Fox Sports NFL analyst Bucky Brooks. Marcellus, what you got?
I know what I don't have. Any Crown Royal. Hook us up, man. But you know what I got? I got that Dudes. Let's start off with number 3, Vita Vea. Ooh, big dog, Buccaneers. Round mound of touchdown. You can see 347-pound Vita. Heaviest touchdown in NFL history. Here's a flashback to 03, Bucks in Atlanta. Warren Sapp catches a touchdown dance, unprepared for the touchdown, because he hits the Beyonce. Ooh, look at that ham hock. Look at them ham hocks. Let's go back to Sunday. Bucks inspired by Sapp, put 347-pound D lineman at fullback. Jermaine Grace, linebacker, business decision. You know you got the fullback. Look at me, gonna walk in there and say, let me act like I don't know where I'm going. And then Vita Vea actually showing some elusiveness. Evades the defender. He's on the island right now. Back home, baby. Throw me that chicken bone, baby. Gets that turkey meat all in. Heaviest touchdown ever by D lineman. You know who you are, Vita. Number 3, that dude of the week. Number 2, we got Josh Uche of Michigan. Josh can't get enough. Michigan's Josh Uche strips Peyton Ramsey and dives on the fumble. All that, one play, get some love, pad the stats. Uche hits Matthew Bedford with that button bitch.
That chin butt.
That's the 1990s version of pass rusher right there. Yeah, bobblehead. Now, Bedford up high. Who are you blocking for? Oh, I expect my quarterback to step up. Well, your quarterback ain't. He ain't stepping up, so now you're out of position, got turned on the play, great extension. Releases, get the strip sack, fumble, and recover all in one play. I see Uche, you doing it all for Michigan. Number 2, that dude of the week. Now let's go to our number 1. He could go on this every single week, but we try to spread the love. TJ Watt of the Steelers. Watt is love.
Ripping.
TJ, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me. Look at TJ Watt get off the rock. Executes a perfect dead arm rip. Look at that dead arm rip. Now let's go down low, because that's where you really get your sacks. Everybody knows that. That hip. Look at that hip turn. Look at him rooting that hip in the ground. That's power. That's leverage. That's how you get the plays. Turn your hips right there. And now like a condor on that strip side. Ghetto bird right there. Ryan Finley, go down. TJ Watt, you know who you are. Kick it, baby. Number 1, that dude of the week.
All right, thank you, Marcel. It's time now for Darnell's question of the day. All right, take it away, homeboy.
All right, let's talk some LA Rams and why the NFL may be adopting an NBA rule at some point. The Rams have been spending money like it's going out of style. Between Jared Goff, Aaron Donald, Todd Gurley, and Brandon Cooks, those 4 players will take a 45% of their cap hit next season. And that's before they give Jalen Ramsey a huge extension, which everyone knows is going to happen.
Yeah,
So I want to ask you guys, do you think we're headed down a road where the NFL should consider adopting an NBA-like amnesty rule to protect themselves from bad contracts?
No. I think people should have to live with the bad financial decisions they made in the NFL. The NBA had getting these do-overs. And, I think it's been a couple times in the CBA. It's not every year that they can do this in the NBA, but sometimes they institute it to give ownership a break. But no, I think Stan Kroenke and the Rams should have to swallow what they've done with Jared Goff and Todd Gurley.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you. This is not going to work in the NFL. In a world where the NFL professes parity and actually shows that in the reward system of the draft, and in terms of when they say parity, they mean you have to live with your decisions in this hard cap. Every team has the same resources, opportunities to go out there and spend, and you have to spend appropriately and responsibly. So, no, it wouldn't work in the NFL.
Nah, come on. They should give the amnesty rule because, look, we all went to fine academic institutions, and sometimes you need a do-over. Sometimes you need a do-over. So this would give team builders an opportunity to make amends for their mistakes.
Mulligan?
Build a team. Yeah, just give us a mulligan. Give us an opportunity to continue to have parity throughout the league, because then when you jettison a Todd Gurley can end up somewhere else, and then we still have more teams.
I know why you're doing this, Bucky. Because you would be a GM that would give Dak $40 million.
Oh, he's getting 40.
You'd want a mulligan.
No, I don't need a mulligan on that. I'm good on that.
Yeah, you're good on that one.
I'm good on that one.
The owners won't consider doing it because it's not a true benefit to the owners to implement an amnesty rule.
Stan Kroenke wouldn't appreciate that?
Well, as ownership, they don't want, even if that money is coming from somewhere else, it's ultimately the bottom line that matters in the NFL. This type of rule, you still have to pay the player, still paying him, and he's not a part of your team anymore. I just don't see the owners. If the owners felt as though this would benefit them, they would have already tried to implement this type of rule. Well, it's in their favor to the way the contracts are structured. It's in the ownership's favor already anyway.
Roger Goodell, the NFL, football in Los Angeles is very important. Stan Kroenke and Les Snead and Sean McVay have made some decisions that may undermine the Rams for the next 2 or 3 years. That's not in the NFL's best interest, and Stan Kroenke's probably got enough money where he'd rather cut the check, free up his salary cap, and take a mulligan.
The problem with that is in collective bargaining, in the professing of parity, the Players Association is going to say, oh, y'all want this? Well, then what do we want? And then we're going to have to give and take, and you know what's going to occur? Nothing. Because this is going to be something of a great ass, like the 18-game schedule was, and then the players are going to say, our return fire is going to be a great ass, and I don't see it actually coming in anything.
Whitlock and Wiley, joined now by Fox Sports college football analyst, smartest man in college football, Joel Klatt. All right, let's talk some college football.
Sir.
Huge game on Fox this weekend, and Joel will be there for it as Jim Harbaugh looks to beat Ohio State for the first time as Michigan head coach. A new column in Sports Illustrated by Michael Rosenberg makes the case that we are too hard on Harbaugh for being 0-4 against the rival Buckeyes, saying that Harbaugh has turned Michigan into a top 10 program and that since his return to Michigan, the entire Big Ten has struggled to beat Ohio State, with the Buckeyes only losing 4 conference games in that span. I mean, my God, who could expect Jim Harbaugh to beat Ohio State? Can you say Harbaugh has done a good job at Michigan if he hasn't beaten Ohio State?
The caveat, the end of that question. You're about ready to shout. Of course you could say he's done a good job, and then it's if he hasn't beaten Ohio State. No, you got to beat Ohio State at some point, right? Now, having said that, I liken it to every conference and every team. Everybody asks me, for instance, I went to Colorado. So people would ask me, are they going to get better? Are they going to, win the conference and win the division? And I always tell people the same thing. You've got to understand the margin between your program and where you're trying to go. Okay, and what is that gap? And for Michigan, when they hired Jim Harbaugh, the gap was as large as the Michigan-Ohio State gap had ever been. Think about what Urban Meyer had done with Ohio State. Remember now, Michigan is a program that's only won 11 or more games about 5 times in their history. Meanwhile, Ohio State has done it every single year since Urban Meyer got to Columbus. So the gap was enormous between Michigan and Ohio State. And Michigan has done a nice job of closing it. The problem is Ohio State's at the pinnacle, and they're at the pinnacle right now, and in particular this year. So I will answer that in the affirmative. Jim Harbaugh has done a really, really good job at Michigan. However, he's got to beat Ohio State at some point in order to be considered a great coach at Michigan.
I think he's done a good job, even without beating Ohio State, as you stated. And I don't think that that's going to be a part of the full respect of Jim Harbaugh. It's interesting what he's suffering from is a hysteria. Let's call it a transactional tax, a transitional tax, that when Jim Harbaugh left San Francisco to become the coach of Michigan, he lost a lot of his likability. And those same people who were rooting for him started to turn immediately, despite having a record as a Power 5 coach that is 8th best, and despite having a conference record that's 7th best, and despite him having 3 10-win seasons and maybe on to his 4th, when Michigan the decade before has only had 1.
Right.
So this is a guy who's totally energized the brand. Remember Michigan football as we grew up. Oh, my God, the brand was at the top. And then remember what it was when he took over.
Yep.
That's why you have to say, despite all of the losses of Ohio State, still a good job by Jim.
I can't agree with anything either one of you all have said. Just having...
Wait, but what I said, there was a lot of facts in there, so you can't disagree with those facts.
Well, I can't agree with it just because I'm still friends with hardcore Michigan alums.
And you're from that area.
Yeah. I worked in Ann Arbor. And so I'm just talking about Jim Harbaugh's base, his base. I'm not talking about the rest of the country. I'm talking about Michigan fans in Michigan. This is almost like, can you say Jim Harbaugh has done a good job without doing a good job? Because the job is to beat Ohio State.
Yeah.
And to sit... Brady Hoke, and y'all can trash him and all that, that's fine. I'm not going to sit here and get on my soapbox about it. But that's a blip in the radar for Michigan. He was there 5 years. And Rich Rod was there 3 or 4 years, I can't remember. Whatever those 8 years are, that's a blip. For Michigan fans, they never came off the narrative of, we're the elite of the elite. In their minds, they're Alabama. Bo Schembechler is Bear Bryant. In their mind. I'm not saying that's reality. And so
I was just going to say, that's a failed perception.
I'm not saying that's reality.
Bo Schembechler didn't win a national championship.
I got it. But until you go to Ann Arbor and how much money's there, how much their alums earn, what their endowment is, blah, blah. They look up Alabama, blah, so what? We're Michigan. And I'm just not beating Ohio State is a disqualifier.
I think my problem with that, you might be. I think you're right. I think you're right about what you said.
I talk to Michigan fans.
The problem is that perception. If that is their perception, that is not reality. That's not what Michigan is, actually. They are the all-time winningest program. It's a wonderful place. However,
there you go. What did you just say? They're the all-time winningest program.
I understand that, but if you look at the national title, since Woody Hayes got to Ohio State, it's not even close. It's not even the same hemisphere.
No doubt.
It's UCLA basketball almost. You could go with the all-time, but then of modern time, things start to suffer.
That's right.
You're right. It's just the people you're talking to are wrong because they can't see the forest from the trees. How can they be wrong?
They're the boss.
No,
they're the boss.
They're the fundraisers.
We're just guys talking on TV.
They're employing them. Brady Hoke can't be a blip. He was there 4 years, and Jim Harbaugh is looking like if what is our measurement of success? So to have reality, we have to either go with facts or a measurement, a variable that we all can rally around.
And beating Ohio State is the measurable.
But winning is also a measurable that, for me, is greater than beating just one team.
Can I let me just pose an alternate universe.
Yeah.
And I know people hate what ifs. I'm just going to pose an alternate universe for a result that Michigan wasn't even involved in, okay? I'm sitting in Ann Arbor getting ready to call Michigan against Indiana last year. Earlier in the day, while we're watching in the booth preparing for that Michigan-Indiana game, Maryland is taking Ohio State into deep water at Maryland. Dwayne Haskins is having to throw for, 1,000 yards in that game. You remember the game well. Terrell Pegram was the quarterback for Maryland. And they had a 2-point conversion to win the game. He had a wide open receiver and threw it wide of him. So Michigan is, 500 miles away, 600 miles away. If he completes that ball and Maryland beats Ohio State, before Michigan even plays Ohio State, they win the division, go play Northwestern, probably beat them, and wind up in the Rose Bowl last year. So is this the same conversation? I'm just saying that a lot of this...
Did you really just walk me through 90 seconds of if Ohio State had lost to Maryland? Did you really just do that?
Yes, and I told you I was going to before I did it. I said, let me pose an alternate universe.
What did it prove? It didn't happen.
It proves that the reality of the situation could have gone several different ways, regardless of what Michigan was doing in and of itself.
Can we agree on this? Because this is a possibility. Chase Young has 5 sacks on Saturday. Ohio State wins by 3 touchdowns. Will we come back here on Monday after Thanksgiving and be talking about Jim Harbaugh has done a good job?
Yes, of course he's done a good job. Look at where they were.
If they get beat by 3 touchdowns,
look at where they were.
There's not a Michigan fan that I know that will be remotely happy.
That's their problem.
Yeah.
I'm telling them the reality, which is look at where you were and look at where you're at.
Time to get new friends.
He answers to those people in Michigan, not us sitting here. Joined again by Joel Klatt and LeVar Arrington. Time now for the most fearless discussion of the day. All right, let's discuss Lamar Jackson, the NFL's leading candidate for MVP. Yesterday, Sports Illustrated's Connor Orr wrote a short opinion piece arguing the NFL has yet to give Jackson its highest praise. Imitation is the highest form of flattery, and Orr believes Baltimore's Jackson-heavy +1 offense will be imitated across the league. Orr made one other interesting point. He predicted bad teams will begin a dogged search for the next Lamar Jackson, and they'll come up empty. Yesterday on this show, Marcellus labeled Jackson a revolutionary player and indicated we could see a sea change at the quarterback position on all levels. I'm like Orr. I'm not so sure. I think we might be underestimating the uniqueness of Lamar Jackson. The dual-threat quarterback has been in style at the high school and college levels for at least a quarter century. The recruiting website Rivals began a separate designation for dual-threat quarterbacks in 1998. Last night, I read a 2006 New York Times story that quoted one of the founders of Rivals, Mike Farrell, talking about the dual-threat quarterback trend. Farrell said this: in high school, a lot of coaches use their best football player, their most athletic guy at the quarterback position. That's because they want to win football games, and that's the way it is. Over the last 5 or 6 years, it's really sort of hit the high school level as far as the top quarterbacks in the country. Now it seems that all of the traditional drop-back quarterbacks, or many of them, can also run the ball or at least are mobile enough to escape pressure when they need to. That's why the 40 times for quarterbacks have become much more important than it used to be. All right, Lamar Jackson is as unique as Steve Young and Roger Staubach, the godfathers of dual-threat quarterbacks. We, and I'm including myself here, keep calling Lamar the next Michael Vick when the truth is he's really the next Steve Young. No disrespect to Mike Vick, but Steve Young is in the Hall of Fame. Young won 2 MVPs, led the 49ers to the Super Bowl. Young is one of the greatest players in NFL history. Mike Vick never threw for more than 21 TDs in a season, never had a passer rating above 86 in a full season as a starter. Guys like Staubach, Young, and Lamar don't come around but once every 20 years or so. They're extremely rare. It's like the next Magic, the next Bird, the next Jordan, the next LeBron. There's a long list of dual-threat quarterbacks who have been very good NFL quarterbacks for a time, from Steve McNair to Vick to Cam Newton. McNair and Newton won MVP awards and carried teams to Super Bowls. But I wouldn't put them on Lamar's level. It'll be a long time before we see another Lamar Jackson or another season like the one Lamar is putting together now. All right, Marcellus.
Yeah.
Are we underestimating Lamar Jackson by suggesting his style will be the wave of the future in the NFL?
Not at all. What we're trying to create is a relative experience to know truly how to measure his greatness. And there's not enough sample size out there to even know how great he is. Is he LT, revolutionizing that position, or is he just another iteration that will continue to be great, but greater is yet to come? Now, let's be real about this. If you talk about who he is, he's revolutionary because he embodies full buy-in at the position of being a 2.0 quarterback. Any other quarterback you want to name, the buy-in wasn't the same for him. Colin Kaepernick had somewhat some of these attributes, but then he didn't have the same game attributes that Lamar Jackson had. But in terms of organizational support, not just title, not just saying we're going to designate you different in scouting and recruiting, as you mentioned in the Whitlock. I'm talking about buy-in, what we're seeing from the Baltimore Ravens. That's what separates this. So instead of what we've seen all the time before, to the point of all those mobile quarterbacks, 2.0 quarterbacks, would always go on record saying, I need to be a pocket passer, because they felt the pressure, they felt the sway, they saw the play calling, they saw the organization always saying, you're one strike away from not being in that position. That is completely different. So, look, NFL, you can't evolve without evolving. Our mindset, we can't evolve without evolving. This is part of that evolution, the buy-in, not just what you're seeing on the field, but what you're seeing supporting it off the field.
I think all of us, to some degree, and in some capacity, whether it's in our career, whether it's our lives, our families, all of us stand on the shoulders of history, right? In some capacity, as a country, individually, we stand on the shoulders of history. Lamar is standing on the shoulders of history. I don't think Lamar Jackson is a revolutionary player. I think he is a product of the revolution that has taken place. And that's an important distinction, because some of these other guys, while maybe they didn't have the talent specifically that Lamar does,
right,
they weren't allowed to succeed and flourish like Lamar is being allowed to, because they were taken and forced into a box schematically on the football field that did not fit their skill set.
Exactly.
Right? And so now what's happened is the schematics of offensive football have evolved to a point where this skill set is not only talented, but it's useful. And now what you're seeing is at the NFL level, like we've seen at the Little League level, and then the high school level, and then the college level, and now at the NFL level, you're seeing this is the skill set that can be the most effective skill set on the football field. So like I started with this, Lamar's talent is rich and incredible, and I love his game, but in a larger capacity, he's more the product of the revolution than he is individually revolutionary.
Man, I like that point. I don't think it's underestimating Lamar Jackson and suggesting that could be the wave, meaning to me you're looking for that type of player. You mentioned LT in your argument, and it's interesting because the first thing that comes to mind when you think of LT is he was revolutionary. But it doesn't necessarily mean revolutionary for the position. It could be revolutionary for how you prepare for the game, right? Now, offensives now have to put more than one tight end out there to account for what Lawrence Taylor brings to the table as a player and a pass rusher. And then I would ask this, if that was to become the wave of the future, because it was what people were looking for after LT jumped and burst onto the scene, how many LTs have we seen since LT?
We've seen versions.
How many LTs have we seen since LT? I haven't seen one yet. And I've been in that discussion. I have not seen one LT yet. So that I think it's very complex to say we see LT, we see Lamar Jackson and what he is, and now we're going to see a wave of variations of him. I think it's a stretch.
Here's where I would push back against you all, is that buy-in is a two-way street. We've seen the Ravens buy in on Lamar Jackson and his skill set. But we've also seen Lamar Jackson buy all the way in to doing whatever is necessary to run a unique offense in the NFL. And so I'll use Michael Vick as an example, and I love and respect Michael Vick. But we know he didn't buy in by his own admission. He wasn't first in, first out. He wasn't a guy that bought all the way in. Vince Young was a guy very similar to Lamar Jackson, came in with the wrong attitude, didn't buy in. This is what I've seen. This was my problem as a college football player. You can talk to any of my coaches. In high school, I was totally bought in, captain of the team, ran summer workouts the whole. In college, I wouldn't buy in. And then I kept looking at the results that I was getting. I was like, how come I ain't getting the results? You ain't bought in. And my coaches would tell me that. And as an adult, I look back and go, they were damn right. So that's one, buy-in. In order to do with Lamar, you got to put the weight on like he did. You got to be willing to be first in the building, last out, the whole leadership, learn the playbook, all the things Lamar has done, he's bought completely in. Hats off to Lamar and his mother. And then the other thing I think that has really helped Lamar and helped where if Steve Young were playing in this era, all these rule changes have made the game softer, easier to run, less dangerous to run. And that's why it's easier for an organization to say, hey, we're going to let our quarterback do this.
And I also want to make sure that I give him individually his due. You know, this is not all just like structural changes in the sport of football. Lamar is individually an unbelievable talent.
Yeah.
You know, and I do want to make a distinction because we're talking about, like, is this the new wave? Is this now the model going forward? The only pushback I would have on that is that style does not equate to longevity. Talent and intangibles equates to longevity. You can be a statue like Tom Brady and play till you're 42, and you can hopefully be Lamar Jackson and use your talent and intangibles to play for, let's hope, a long time in the National Football League. But his talent is specific, and it's off the charts, and that's why he's having so much success.
Look, what is revolutionary about him, I will state once again, is his impact on mentality and openness and people, the acceptance that is coming, at least it looks like right now. Not necessarily you're first at this position, but you can now be the poster, the face of what this mindset looks like. Because as you said, buy-in is a two-way street, but I know what is coded is not a two-way street. And guess what's coded? Opportunity. You can give someone title, but don't give them support. Guess what? That's not a two-way street. So then that player has been put into position, and I heard countless quarterbacks when I played will always talk about being pocket passers. I'm like, your greatest attributes are doing whatever it takes to make the play. And they were getting pigeonholed into certain mindsets and pressures. So let's talk about this. Let's look at the evolution of the sport. Remember the days when running backs weren't allowed to catch the ball out the backfield? And then one day Roger Craig comes around and others, and they're like, oh my God. Remember the days when there was no such thing as a hybrid linebacker? Like, what are we going to do? Is he a DN or linebacker? I don't know. We don't know what to do with him. So we draft him low and don't give him full buy-in support. Remember the days where they didn't even count sacks for defensive ends? Because who cares about a sack? That was the days when we just ran for a cloud of dust. And then all of a sudden we measure that. This, to me, is another indicator of the evolution of that mindset. And I think he's going to be the face of it. Like you said, no one else has had the organization and the player and the system all agree that this is best for us. I don't know another situation like this. That's why I say
I'll say this and this is off the top of my head, but, you know, the Steelers tried this to me with Cordell Stewart years ago. And the Steelers, and again, you would know, you Pittsburgh fan, I don't know, I don't, football, man, all these guys want to do is win and make money and get their next contract. And so I don't, if a guy will buy in, you will be shocked what people will try.
I mean, did Pittsburgh really try? Or did they just like, ante up? Were they in the big blind in a Texas Hold'em game? And they're like, okay, like I'll throw my chips in the middle. To go all in, did Pittsburgh shove their chips in the middle of the table? No, they didn't. They didn't. And so that's what I think.
I'm not sure if they should have.
That's to my point.
To your point, like, is that Baltimore is right like this.
Bill Roman, Baltimore hiring specialty coaches in option blocking. Yeah. Like they literally was going out there saying, we know what we got, now let's do it.
I'm just telling you, it's a lot. This is, again, goes back to why I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of Lamars. And because I think the Tom Bradys, the Ray Lewises, the Peyton Mannings, the Lamar, there's so few. Just football's so hard. And it's so hard to buy all the way in. And for anybody, and Lamar Jackson and his mother, to have his mother this bought in, I think is part of the reason why Lamar is just very unique.
No, I'm going to push back and say the reason why you're not going to see a lot of Lamars is because a lot of Lamars couldn't make it past all the resistance, the pressures, and them being persuaded to do other things with their talents on the football field. There was a day where a defensive end like me, built like me, was not even playing football. He was wanting to be the heavyweight boxing champ. Then he gets to football, and now we look at it how the position has evolved to now I'm too big to play D end because they have changed the mindset and the schematics around it. So no Lamars. There are mobile quarterbacks, but no Lamars, in part because those guys were persuaded to do other things while they're climbing the
I'll
mountain.
just say very quickly, there's gifts, there's instincts, there's coaching, there's development, and then there's the sophistication and the complexities of being a true pocket passing quarterback and a running quarterback. If you don't have all of those elements, say it one more time, gifts, instincts, coaching, development, and the ability to handle the complexities and the sophistication of doing both, it's not about you being an athlete. It's about your ability to retain all of those moving elements to be a Lamar Jackson. That's what makes him special.
Joined once again by Bucky Brooks. Let's return to the NFL. Sponsored by the Capital One Venture Card. What's in your wallet? All right, Cam Newton is done for the season, and his future is still up in the air. His backup, Kyle Allen, has been up and down since Newton's injury. And at a charity event this week, Cam made it clear he hopes to stay with Carolina beyond the last year of his deal in 2020, saying, quote, Charlotte is home. All right, the question here is, right decision for Cam Newton to want to stay in Carolina?
Yes. He's built up the equity. His play, his performances, his status, all of that is built up an equity that I am not in position to spend for him. And if he thinks he wants to keep it there, he should. 2, he knows what his injuries did to his game. Remember, before the injury, 6-2 and MVP caliber season. Post-injury, nothing. Nothing resembles Cam Newton. So he says he's going through a tough time right now, and the humility that you gain from that. Traditionally, we like to see you humbled and then take it somewhere else and show that humility. But it's optimized, it's most effective when you get humbled in a certain situation and you apply it exactly to that same situation. Cam Newton back as the quarterback, healthy and humbled from this experience, I think would be a great play.
I think it's a win-win for all parties involved. I think it's a win for Cam because Cam understands that this is the staff, front office, and coaching staff that knows him best. So he knows that he'll get a full opportunity to flourish if he returns to form. I think for the team, it's also a great opportunity. Everyone has talked about the $19 million that he is owed. Here's what I would like people to do. Look at what quarterbacks are being paid. What Cam Newton will be paid is a bargain. $19 million compared to some of the $30 million contracts that are out there. The Carolina Panthers still will be getting a bargain deal with an MVP at quarterback. He has to work. He has to come in. He has to be the leader that you want to see.
Lamar Jackson's going there.
So what?
Lamar Jackson's going to Carolina. Is that what you just said?
I said he's been an MVP.
You said with an MVP.
He has been an MVP. You know, once you're an MVP, they always call you MVP. You know,
always, like a doctor, like a doctor.
That's the whole point.
That doesn't go year to year?
No, it's not year to You're always called the MVP forever.
Doctor.
And so as a guy who has won an MVP and led that team to the Super Bowl, he will get an opportunity to do that. I think for the Carolina Panthers, it would be smart for them to do that until they're sure that they have someone else in the hopper.
And I just want to be sure if I've asked the question properly. You know, only perspective I'm worried about is Cam. Is this the right decision for Cam to want to stay in Carolina? I don't think so. If I were him, I would look and say, man, Ron Rivera and I have been very inconsistent. We had one great year together. We've been very inconsistent. Can I do better? Now, if they're saying I'm going to get a new head coach, maybe. But if it's just the status quo, Ron Rivera, Cam Newton, Norv Turner, I'm trying to get to Los Angeles Chargers. I'm trying to get somewhere different, better, Bears with Matt Nagy. I'm trying, to me, if I'm Cam, I would want a fresh start.
Well, look, they've been consistently inconsistent. Of his 9 seasons, him as a quarterback, he's only had 3 winning seasons, like you said. The thing is, what's out there for Cam Newton in terms of opportunity? Nothing's guaranteed. 2, if you are Cam Newton, you're like, why do I have to start over? And am I getting pushed out by Kyle Allen? Like now, Kyle Allen, not Kyle Allen before who couldn't lose a game. This Kyle Allen, and I'm cheap. I'm cheap. Y'all trying to kick me to the curb?
One of the biggest mistakes I ever made in my career is I stayed with the Kansas City Star too long. Out of, I ain't losing no political war. And I missed the opportunities that were out there for me other places. It's a mistake.
But it's great ownership, at least let's say new ownership that supports Cam Newton.
The only thing, Marcellus touched on something that I think is significant, equity. Cam knows that the coaches have equity in him. And we all know, especially as players, when you get near the end of your career, you always need that old coach that remember when. No. Remember when, and they'll keep you around a little longer. Because, hey, don't worry about it. Marcellus will dust it off. He still has that. If Cam goes somewhere new, he goes somewhere new. He doesn't have that same trust. And without that trust, when it goes bad, that guy's not going to stand on the table for him.
You got to get into Cam's head. Cam's a 5-star. He's former MVP.
He's looking in the mirror now, too. That vulnerability is there, too.
He said he's having a tough
self-esteem. That self-esteem is a little different.
I don't think he shouldn't make an insecure decision. Well, I'm always going to bet on me.
I'm always going to bet on myself, but I also know what's stacked against me. And this is real. Every time you move to a different team, loss of equity makes you have to prove yourself more. So when you're drafted high, you can have the worst training camp in the world. You're on the team. But let me find out that now you're on your second team. And they're like, oh, he was the top pick. Day one, they're looking at you at practice like this. And if you don't show them everything they want, man, you know how short that leash is? And that's Cam Newton going to be 31 years old with a short leash going to a new team. I don't think that's the smartest proposition.
I want an offensive-minded head coach if I'm Cam Newton at this point. I want somebody that can do a reclamation project on me. It's almost Thanksgiving. Uncle Jimmy's here.
You know.
All right, Uncle Jimmy, who's your big dummy of the day?
Boy, you got to get this heat, nephew. Hey, man, the big dummy of the day goes to the person that sat up here about 4 feet from James Harrison and said, you ever watch any Steelers football?
Yeah, you did say that.
Nephew, you didn't realize you was in danger, did you? Did the phrase stranger danger mean anything to you?
All right, let's return to Dallas, where Jason Garrett may be coaching for his job tomorrow against the Buffalo Bills. There's also speculation that current Cowboys tight end Jason Witten could be his replacement. Marcellus.
Yes, sir.
In light of all this, do you think Jerry Jones will have a thankful Thanksgiving?
No. I think the Buffalo Bills are going to beat them. Respect to the Buffalo Bills and how they're rolling. Third-ranked defense. They get after the quarterback, 7th in sacks. You're going to underestimate this. A short week, all this conversation about Jason Garrett's job, and you playing a good team? No, I don't think so. Not at all.
And if that happens, if they lose to Buffalo, Jason Garrett is toast. He's fired by Friday. That's my prediction. All right, Uncle Jimmy. Okay. You doing any cooking tomorrow? Or I'm sorry.
I was going to say, you just slipped in another food analogy, didn't you? He's toast.
He leaking.
All right.
Look, man.
Jerry Jones.
Look, man, let me tell you something, man. Right now, at this stage of the game, and I'm enjoying this a little bit. Because, see, look, right now, the Dallas Cowboys, they have become the old Steven Spielberg classic, A Color Purple.
A Color Purple.
The Color Purple.
The Color Purple.
Yeah, The Color Purple. It's about this old man named Mr. and his wife Celie. Now the part of Mr. in this case gonna be played by Jerry Jones.
Yep.
Okay. And he was unearthly good, man. He didn't treat Celie good. Didn't appreciate nothing about her. Hey, man, Celie even raised his little badass kids. And what did the kids do? Bust him in the head with a brick as soon as he showed up. Bam! Everybody in the town made fun of Celie because they knew that Mr. didn't appreciate nothing that she did.
So
that's how y'all treating Jason Garrett.
Y'all?
Jason Garrett is Celie.
That's what I'm telling you.
All right.
Okay.
No picture. Oh.
Now let's keep going.
Oh, damn.
Okay, now look here. Just like Jason Garrett, Whoopi Goldberg in this movie wasn't too pleasing on the eyes.
Oh, wow.
Okay? Wow. Well, I mean, if y'all know what I mean, listen to me now. I'm trying to be politically incorrect if y'all work with me now.
Please, quickly.
Look here, remember that part of the movie where the woman opened the door and said, you sure is ugly. That's how y'all do Jason Garrett. Okay, and now remember this. Mr. had a son. What was his son's name? Harbaugh.
Yeah.
Hey, man, Harbaugh was just a good, hard-working son that didn't want to do nothing but please his pappy. Who's that, man? That can't be nobody but Dak Prescott.
Dak Prescott, all right.
Dak.
Okay, now what movie could be complete without a love interest? And in The Color Purple, what was the love interest? Suge Avery.
Yeah.
Huh? You know, Suge was somebody that Mr. had a previous relationship with.
You stop.
And look here. And so Mr. went and got Suge from the Monday Night Football booth and moved him back into the big house. Now, who else could play that part other than Jason Witten?
That's not bad.
Now, look, everybody in town knew about that relationship. Hell, even Jason Garrett knew about it. Ain't nothing he can do about it. Now, hold it. I know what y'all asking. Hold up.
What?
Who played the part of Oprah? Now, remember, that was the part where Oprah was a little overweight, had a hair all over his head, had anger issues. Wow. Matter of fact, wanted to fight and went to jail in the movie. Who can that be? That's Ezekiel Elliott. Now, I love Ezekiel because Ezekiel had the best part in the movie. Remember that part where they was in the field and he came up to Jason Garrett? He told Jason Garrett, "You told Dak to outplay me." Listen here, I love Dak. Lord, no, I do. But I kill him dead.
My
if you let him
approval
outshine me.
rating for Jerry Jones, I've got him at a 74. He's fallen from GOAT status.
I'm at 75.
Dropped him 15 in
75.
job performance. 75. We got total agreement
same
here.
number. Yeah, my number, my former jersey number. I love that. Job performance got to go down. Jerry Jones, stop talking so much on a short week. Let these guys focus, man. Focus.
Dumpster fire wins on the internet, but GOAT status finishes second.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Polarizing. He is.
Anyway.